And he sends that one high and deep, flips the bat, and watches it fly out of here.
The hot stove is already heating up. Last week, we saw Yasmani Grandal signed a 4-year deal with the Chicago White Sox, and today, Mike Moustakas signed with the team. We're going to talk about that later on, but before we do that, there's a bunch of other trades and a few other minor signings that we do have to talk about. Teams like the Padres, they're making a lot of noise, as well as the Oakland Athletics, so it's just going to be a really fun video. I'm hoping that you guys stick around. If you're new to the channel, I talk about baseball every single day. Today is going to be a free agency video. If you guys want to see more, slap a like on this one, and without further ado, it's time to start talking baseball. So again, guys, before I talk about the Mike Moustakas signing, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Padres because they're making a ton of news recently. Last week, they traded away their top prospect, but he was kind of a failed prospect in Luis Urias. He was shipped to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for an outfielder named Trent Grisham. When Christian Yelich went down after he fouled a pitch off his shin and kind of almost broke his leg, Trent Grisham filled in. He did have that error against the Washington Nationals, but I'm not going to bring that up. I think that Luis Urias, he sucked in San Diego. Now he's going to have a chance to redeem himself in Milwaukee, and also the same thing for Trent Grisham. Give him a fresh new start after making that error. So we know that Luis Urias and Trent Grisham, they were pretty much flipped 1 for 1. There was a few other pieces involved, but those were the main ones. And then today, the Padres are in the news yet again as they acquired the second baseman from the Oakland Athletics, Jurikson Profar. When he was with the Rangers, he was a top prospect. Almost the same thing, the same story as Luis Urias. He never really panned out. He had a pretty good 2018. And then in 2019, if we take a look at his stats, what are the Padres getting in Jurikson Profar? Well, if we take a look, he did have 20 home runs in 2018, or actually 2019, this past season, but the reason why I'm kind of fumbling over my words is because I saw that he hit 218. So the Padres, yes, you're getting rid of Ian Kinsler and Luis Urias, and now you're going to have Jurikson Profar, so maybe he's going to hit 220, maybe he's going to hit 230. I'm not really too sure what's going to happen. Yeah, Jurikson Profar to the Padres. What do you guys make of that? It's just kind of a weird trade because they did give back Austin Allen and a player to be named later for the A's. It's just kind of weird timing. I'm not really too sure who wins in this. Actually, guys, I do have one more note to make about this Padres and A's trade because this is going to allow Jorge Mateo, one of the top prospects for the Oakland A's, to come up and maybe fill that second base position. I mean, I live in Las Vegas, so I root for the Aviators, the AAA Aviators. Jorge Mateo was our starting shortstop, and I feel like because Marcus Semien had such a great year and almost won MVP last season, that he is not going to be removed from shortstop. So bring up Jorge Mateo, put him at second base to fill in the gap that is left by Jurikson Profar, and in my opinion, I feel like you now have one of the best young players because Mateo, the Yankees drafted him, they traded him, and he is one of the fastest human beings I've ever seen step on not only a baseball diamond, but any sports field in general. And if you missed him play, all you A's fans, prepare for this.
Pitch. Mateo lines one toward right center field, cutting over Galloway in the alley, base hit, head back to the wall. Mateo sniffing 3. He's around second. He can fly. He heads to third. He is in standing with a triple.
Not only can Jorge Mateo fly, he had 24 stolen bases in about 120 games last season. He also has some pop. Last season when I was there, I saw him in person hit a baseball 490 feet, so the guy can rake as well. So that pretty much does it for the Padres and the A's news. Next up, we have to talk about a few more little things before we talk about Mike Moustakas. James McCann, he was an all-star last year in 2019 for the Detroit Tigers. He had a pretty decent season with 18 home runs and a 789 OPS. Not the greatest in the world, but he is going to be backing up Yasmani Grandal as McCann signs a 1-year deal with the Chicago White Sox. And then speaking of catchers, Yan Gomes and Travis d'Arnaud, they have both found new homes as well. Yan Gomes will be headed to the Nationals, so he's going to stay with the Nationals. He signed a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Nats after not being that great for them. So he gets a lot of money for being very, very, very average. He had one good season in Cleveland. I can tell you that because obviously I'm an Indians fan. And then every year after that, he's good defensively, but with the stick, not so much. Travis d'Arnaud exploded last year for the Rays. He signed a 1-year deal. I believe it was 2-year deal, $16 million for the Atlanta Braves. The Braves, they get a closer and a catcher. They fill both of their huge gaping holes. The Braves are going to be even better going into 2020. Watch it happen. And then one more small note is Kyle Gibson signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Texas Rangers. So the fact that the Rangers, they're trying to stay into contention. There's been a lot of rumors lately that they could potentially acquire Miguel Andujar from the Texas Rangers. I don't think that's going to happen, although I did predict it, so if it does, I can say I'm right, but it's just, I don't know if the Rangers have the pieces. And then last but not least, the final story from today. Everyone who is watching this has been waiting for this moment. Mike Moustakas has signed a 4-year deal with the Cincinnati Reds. I'm going to be honest with you guys, a 4-year deal for Mike Moustakas, that's a little bit on the risky side if you ask me, because I would have given him a 2, maybe 3-year deal at the max. Definitely not 4 years. He bet on himself last offseason. He signed a 1-year contract, just like Yasmani Grandal. I keep saying his last name wrong. I'm sorry. He bet on himself. He had a huge season with the Brewers. He had 35 home runs, and then if we're talking about OPS, he had an 845 OPS. So that is a pretty good offensive season, and when you stick him in that lineup with the Reds and you plug him at second base, because I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter saying, yo, Mike Moustakas plays third base. What does that mean for Eugenio Suarez, who almost hit 50 home runs? Eugenio Suarez is not going anywhere. If you are a Reds fan, you need to rejoice, because you now have a new second baseman that is going to hit you 30 to 40 home runs in Mike Moustakas. And then if we look at the rest of the roster for the Reds, they're looking pretty mighty. Now again, I'm not sure if the 4 years and $60 million is going to pan out in 2021 or 2022, but for the next season, 2020, the Reds, they're looking pretty good. Maybe not as good as the Red Machine, but if we take a look at the lineup, you have top prospect who had a pretty good season, Nick Senzel in center field batting leadoff. Next up, you have the old man, Mr. Joey Votto. He's won an MVP. He almost has a 950 career OPS. This guy is legit. If he can bounce back, the Reds are going to be even scarier. He would bat number 2 in my opinion. Eugenio Suarez, he'd play third base and bat number 3. We have Mike Moustakas, the brand new second baseman, at the cleanup spot number 4. And then 5, we have Aristides Aquino. The kid can absolutely rake. We've all seen that. He made history with the most home runs in baseball history through his first 100 plate appearances. I believe he passed Will Smith and Rhys Hoskins. Yeah, those were the 2 guys. And then after that, you could go with Jesse Winker in left field. You have Tucker Barnhart or Kurt Casilli as your catcher. And then Freddie Galvis, who, if you don't watch my MLB The Show videos, the guy rakes in the game, so he's kind of an MLB The Show glitch, and he's been known to kind of rake in real life as well. So when you have that order 1 through 8, and then if you go to the pitchers, they just acquired Trevor Bauer. They added him to the same rotation as Luis Castillo, who was an all-star. You have Sonny Gray. Everyone thought that he was washed up because he played in New York, and he smiled as he was walking off the mound, and everyone said, get him out of here. Yeah, Sonny Gray said, I'm still pretty good. You know, he was an all-star and an almost Cy Young winner with the Oakland A's, and he returned to that form with the Reds. And then they also have, how do you say his last name? I think it's Anthony Desclafani. He's pretty good too. If I butchered that, I'm really sorry. But when you have Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Desclafani in the same rotation, and then you add Mike Moustakas to that already pretty good lineup, yo, the Reds, if Amir Garrett can pitch like first half of Amir Garrett, and if they can maybe move on from Raisel Iglesias and get someone back in return, if they fix that bullpen, they're going to have an all-around good team. Maybe the speed is not that great, but yeah, the Reds, they got something cooking. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to let me know in the comment section down below all of the moves that we have seen today. Let me know which one do you think is going to make the biggest impact. We could even throw in Yasmani with his 4-year deal with the Chicago White Sox. Which move so far has been the biggest? In my opinion, I truly feel like Oakland A's fans, they do not need to get all desperate now and think, oh, we traded away Jurikson Profar, because he's not really the best player in the world. I think just his name carries some weight because he used to be a top prospect. You're going to be able to call up Jorge Mateo. You're going to be fine. And then the Padres, they've signed a good amount of pieces as well. And one thing I forgot to mention is they re-signed, because they used to have him, they re-signed Drew Pomeranz as a relief pitcher. So he didn't really do that great last year as a starting pitcher. He found his groove in Milwaukee, was throwing 97 to 98 miles an hour. He is going to be special going forward. And I think that the Padres, with the addition of, you have Trent Grisham, you have Drew Pomeranz, you have Jurikson Profar, those are 3 pretty good Major League Baseball players. And I think once you get Fernando Tatis Jr. back, you have Hunter Renfroe, you have all of these pieces in place. And we're not even talking about their catcher. Who's the catcher? He used to be on the Indians. Francisco Mejia, I totally forgot about that because we acquired Brad Hand from him. I believe it was last year. But that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. There has been so much news. We have James McCann going to the White Sox to back up Yasmani. We have Drew Pomeranz. We have Kyle Gibson, Yan Gomes, Travis d'Arnaud. All of these guys are going to brand new homes. And then the biggest bombshell from Jeff Passan was the fact that Mike Moustakas signed a 4-year, $60 million deal, and he is joining the mighty Reds. So they could hit 250 to 300 home runs easily in 2020. And if you don't think that's going to happen, take a look at the lineup one more time, because I think that they are well on their way. Who do you think is going to make the biggest impact in 2020? Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, slap a like on this one, and I'll catch you the next one. Peace out.